It is Monday morning, the 23rd of May 2022. Today my skidmark is aimed at Europe. I will do, I think, more skidmarks today. The world has gone crazy, but let me focus on Europe. As one very popular commentator says, the EC is led by Ursula von der Crazy. It is quite obvious that the political elite in Europe does not care about the citizens of Europe. The citizens of Europe has been corralled under this farce of the EU with a draconian NATO on the background, and between those two conglomerates they are busy destroying the lives of the citizens of Europe. The citizens allowed this to happen. The citizens gave these crazy people the power to control their lives. We are seeing absolute craziness. There is a grouping in Europe that wants to deindustrialize Europe. They don't care about the results, and I'm quite sure they do not for a moment sit down and imagine that they are driving Europe back into the Stone Age. The media has brainwashed and programmed us all to hate the Russians. The past 3 months I spent a lot of time really investigating Russia. I wanted to know what is this thing that the media and the politicians want me to hate. And the more I read about Russia and the more I see about Russia, the more I realize that Russia is roughly what the West was in the 50s and the 60s. The average Russian person does not differ from me or you. I watch videos where they barbecue meat, I watch videos where they play in the rivers, I watch them walking through their cities. The Western media and politicians try, and they succeeded, in making us believe that Russians are people of low intelligence and they live in stone and mud huts, which is total unadulterated bullshit. If you look at the Russian cities, they don't differ from the Western cities much. One thing that is very obvious when you look at Russia and you look at their cities is the absolute high numbers of statues and art pieces in their parks and their beautiful buildings and things like that. And you have to admit to yourself, these people are intelligent people. They have a very, very good cultural heritage. And they are normal people like you and me. They stand in front of a supermarket shelf and they look at the prices of the different products and they buy the ones that they can afford. Just like you do, just like me do. But this Ursula von der Crazy and her cabal in Brussels wants you to hate them, wants you to think of them as Stone Age people. And that is actually ironic. If the Russians turn off the gas and oil supply and electricity supply to Europe today, tomorrow Europe will be going into the Stone Age. Millions of people in Europe will be without jobs, and millions of them will be without food, and millions of them will be without heat. They are going to die from cold, they're going to die from hunger. And Ursula von der Crazy and her merry band of idiots in Brussels don't care about it. I read a commentator making the point that the EU is actually a Western replication of the old USSR. Nothing else. And the European citizens went along with this crazy plan. People that deny the reality of cultural differences are idiots. People are not all the same. It is just a simple fact of life. I am of the opinion that between the EU, NATO, the WEF, WHO, and the United States, they have conspired to destroy the Western civilization. And all of it done for money. The EU people in Brussels are just talking war. 3 months now. While on the ground in the Ukraine, the Russian military is grinding them to pieces. Those are the realities. The so-called collective West has pumped almost $60 billion of military aid into the Ukraine. Now think about it for a moment. That is more than the total Russian defense budget for a year. The question that you must ask yourself is, where is this money coming from? Because the Western countries that are doing these donations are in all practical terms bankrupt. The latest 40 billion from the US, they don't have that money. There is now commentators that say they are borrowing that money from China to pump into the Ukraine. Now, you read in the newspapers and you read in the comments on social media what is happening in Britain. The Muslim population in Britain is slowly but surely taking control of every aspect of the average Briton's life. And you see these commentators, a former secretary of this and a former general and a former this and a former that. The reality is, pretty soon we will be talking about the former Britain, just as we will be talking about the former Germany, the former France, the former Italy. Unless the people of Europe, the ordinary citizens, take control back of their lives and their countries, Europe, as we know it today, is gone. You look, I heard a commentator mention over the weekend that a guy in Greece, in February, his energy bill was 203 euros. In April, it was 500 euros. The expectation is that it will be, at the end of May, it will be 750 euros. How must that person afford to pay that? But Ursula van der Crazy and her cabal in Brussels feels nothing for that. They are pushing this NATO expansion. They are now dead set on getting Sweden and Finland into it. The cold reality is that NATO is not a match for Russia, and they know it, and they don't have the money to spend on getting NATO to be worthwhile adversary for Russia. Why is nobody talking peace? How prosperous can Europe be in peaceful coexistence with all European nations? A Europe where the citizens work to better their own lives, where resources are shared in fair trade, and everybody focuses on providing a good life for their own families. But these logics does not exist. The WEF is sitting in Davos today. They've got protection of 5,000 soldiers and a no-fly zone. Why? Why? If the people of Europe does not understand that there is an elite class that is dead set on destroying their lives, they will be destroyed. It is maybe time to go and sit and read how the French Revolution started and how it ended. We are way beyond the point of hoping for a better tomorrow. A better tomorrow will only come if we take control of our lives, if we take our countries back, take it out of the hands of these absolute maniacs that calls themselves political leaders. Hungary has a political leader and a political leadership that really cares about Hungarians. Take a tip from them. It is time that ordinary European citizens wake up, or they are doomed.